Hi, thank you for clicking on the video. As you can see, we're jumping back into the MOESHA universe today. Now, you already know, if you don't like spoilers and you haven't seen MOESHA, then you jump off of here, go watch MOESHA, then come back. But if you don't care, we move on. Today, we will be talking about Dee and Frank today because, Frank is known as the worst TV dad in history, and he is. But Dee, together together they are like the worst TV parents in history. Okay, like they get on my fucking nerves. Like right off the bat, she get on my nerves. See, if you go back and watch, if it's been a while since you've seen MOESHA, I want you to go back and watch just the first season. And you're gonna see what the heck I'm talking about. Like, she really eggs Frank on to end up becoming the type of dad that he becomes, where he's like overbearing, over pushy, over and underprotective of Moesha at the same time, like over controlling. She eggs him on until he starts acting like that, and then she tries to act like she's the understanding and caring parents when in reality you're a whole problem. Okay. So I have a lot to say about them. I'm gonna try and say it all in this video without making this video too long, but we might have to make another video with stuff that I don't mention in this one. We'll see. Okay, now let me just start off with that very first episode. Frank does not care about anything at this 6 point. He just care about going to work, bring home the bacon, and that's it. Eating the bacon as well. Like, that's all he care about. As long as the kids get to school and are, alive by the time he get home from work, he is okay. He finds Moesha to be rather responsible because after the mom died, she, stepped up, and was helping out around the house or whatever, right? So, he don't really complain too much. He don't really have nothing to say. Moesha pretty much can do whatever the hell she wants as long as her grades are fine and she's in the house when she's supposed to be in the house, whatever. It is what it is. That's the type of mentality that Frank has in this very first episode, right? And Dee can't stand it because Dee don't have enough power in the house. Okay, Miles gonna do what Miles gonna do because he little, and so he's a little bit more open to this new situation with Dee coming into the house. Moesha, on the other hand, she vividly remembers her mom, and she's not feeling this new woman coming up in here trying to act like her mama all of a sudden. Which, fair enough. I mean, from what it seemed like, it was not that long ago since the mom had passed, and so definitely they were all still in the grieving section of their life, and it's kind of crazy because you go into the series with them basically wanting Moesha to just be over it. Like, her mom basically just died. I would say like the most it had been was like 2 years, but most likely it was less than that. And y'all want her to just be okay. Well, I'm remarried now, so you need to be okay with it. Like, no, she has every right to grieve, but she is one of the most misunderstood characters on TV. And we'll get into that when I make my video on her. But yeah, so this particular episode, she wants to go to the den. Frank gives her permission to go to the den. And Dee made sure that she had a conversation with Frank so that, when she did what she was planning on doing the whole time, which was put Moesha on punishment so she couldn't go out, Frank wasn't gonna say nothing to her because she had a conversation with him and he already said, well, it's whatever Dee wants, right? So she turns around and literally purposely gets Moesha to get to the point where she like, hey, you not my mama, I don't have to listen to you. Like, if you watch that scene, she like, okay, well, I'm off to the den. And then she was like, well, eat. And she was like, oh no, I'm gonna grab something at the den. Which, fair enough, there's food at the den. You probably was told your friends you're gonna be there at a certain time, whatever, right? You already got a curfew. There was no big deal, right? And she go on and on until Moesha finally is like, I don't have to listen to you. Then she's like, well, now you're grounded. Like, you could tell that's where she was trying to get it to begin with. She had a whole problem with Moesha to begin with. And tried to be like, no, I've always cared about you. No, the fuck, you didn't. Stop lying. But, yeah, and like it's so annoying because Frank don't care. You see what I'm saying? Like he care it when we see her start dating, then he want to be like, boys, you know, I can't stand this. But even then, he really don't, nag her too much. He really just be like a little bit more like, ooh, I don't want her to go on dates and stuff. And then you got D like, well, she's doing this. Aren't you worried? She's doing that. Aren't you worried? Like, okay. And so we get further on into the series, and now we have Frank just being so. He was so ignorant. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, I don't like Q. Okay, I don't like Q and Moesha together. Okay, but it's not for the reasons that Frank didn't like Q. Frank didn't like Q because he was being prejudiced against him. Like, Q never actually did anything to Frank for him to despise him the way that he did. For him to, forbid Moesha to not date him the way that he did, right? Like, right off the bat, from the moment he saw him, he didn't like him because of the way he dressed, because of the way he talked, because he just wasn't him, apparently. like she's not dating me, so it's a problem. Like that's basically what it seemed like, right? And mind you, and this is another issue that I have with D, because D is the vice principal at this school. She knows who Q is. She mentions like twice, once for sure, but like twice she mentions, oh no, Quinn's not that bad, and then just lets Frank be an asshole to him for the rest of the series for no reason. You know that he's not a bad seed, but you use the situation, and she literally does use the situation to her advantage. We'll get to that in a second, right? But there's this episode, and this episode pisses me off. This episode pisses me off every time I see it. Like, the house is a mess. Everything is a little chaotic, right? And for some reason, these vice principal duties are just, they're really kicking her ass because she's having to do overtime and her schedule's just so crazy because she's a vice principal. Okay. And then Frank's job is demanding at the time, I guess. Like, he getting a lot of Saturn car, sales this particular time of the year. Any other time, you struggling to get these motherfuckers off the lot. But for some reason, business is booming in this particular episode. Okay. And these two irresponsible ass motherfuckers decided the best thing to do was to tell their 15, 16-year-old daughter, run the house, take care of your brother like he's your son, clean this house from top to bottom like you're the only one fucking it up, make sure that everything is running smoothly while we pretend that we're more busy than we actually are, right? And it's so frustrating because at the end of the day, this girl is still a kid herself. She is a teenager. She's going to not always be responsible. Okay, now in this particular episode, the thing that she did that she was wrong for doing was letting her grade slip and skipping class to be with Q. That's it. That's it. Because at the end of the day, Miles was not her responsibility. Miles was not her child. Now, D, you came in this house saying, well, I'm here, I can take this role. You literally tell her, you got this. And now all of a sudden, she needs to act like Miles is her son. Now all of a sudden, she's irresponsible because she too forgot that she had to pick him up. But you were supposed to pick him up. But you mad that you had to pick him up because you were already supposed to pick him up. But you told her to do it instead. And all of y'all forgot to pick this boy up. The neglect on Miles. The neglect on Miles. It's just freaking ridiculous, right? But, like, Then on top of that, y'all sitting up here, y'all junking up the house more and more too, which is crazy to me. I don't care how quick you need to get out of the house. There was no reason why the house was that messed up during that time, because you could have at least done a quick rinse or something of your plate, your cup before dashing out. It's never that freaking serious. Mind y'all, she works at the school that Moesha attends. So, I'm trying to understand why you think that you have to be at that school damn near at the same time that she has to be. You got to be there a little bit early. I'm going to be completely honest, though. I don't really remember the vice principals in schools having to do like that much. Like, I'm sure their jobs are important, and they pick up where the principal don't do stuff or something like that. They probably are first person you reach before talking to the actual principal or something. But then again, I never really dealt with the offices in school, so I just might not know how important that job is. But something tells me that you shouldn't be at a school, and at like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, midnight. Like, something seem off about that timing. Could just be me. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know. Like, she was acting like that school was just going to burn to the ground if she was not there all day and all night, But yeah, so they sat up here, and literally D went off on her like all of this stuff was her fault. Like, MOESHA, messed up the house and, gave birth to Miles, and that it was just so wrong for her not to be taking care of this boy like it was like he was her child, right? And then it gets down to it, and they like, oh, your grades are slipping because of Q. I think her grades are slipping because she's stressed. Y'all put in more and more pressure on her. Then she's also, like, again, a kid wanting to be a kid. Well, a teenager wanting to be a teenager. And, she's not being allowed to do that. And then y'all saying, well, you have to have responsibility. You have to have responsibility. And that's the issue. Y'all want to go back and forth. Either y'all want to be the parents and y'all got the situation under control, or y'all want her to be the most mature in the house and act like she needs to run the shit. Like, pick your choice. Like, pick your side. What do you want? You know what I mean? And this is the same episode, like, where Q comes to dinner, right? He couldn't say anything at that table without Frank having a problem with it. Like, boy, grow the fuck up. Like, grow up. What are you doing? Like, why are you treating this kid? Mind you, he's also just a teenager. Just a kid. He's still trying to figure out life as well. And while, like I said, I don't like Q, and, I have my qualms with the relationship and how he was acting in that relationship, Frank didn't know about none of that. Like, he just wrote him off just because, well, you're a ghetto boy type ish. It was so weird. Like, you're a grown ass man sitting up here talking crappy to this child because you don't like the way he dressed. Okay. And we all know how hypocritical that is, considering, all of your lies that come out later on, Dorian. You know what I mean? Like, and this is my issue with it, right? D never speaks up and be like, Frank, you need to relax because there's nothing wrong with this boy. He's fine. I work at the school that he goes to. He does his best. He's very, inspirational to the other students, like, in which he was. Like, Q was very helpful to the other kids around him. He just treated MOESHA like crap. Like, everybody else was fine for him, okay? He was, giving motivational speeches and telling people how they can be better. And, again, the only person he treated like shit was Moesha. Like, so, D could have spoken up and said something in his defense, but instead she sat there and let Frank just talk crappy to him, let the whole dinner go sideways, and then he left. And Frank is still like, I don't want you dating him. Like, such bullshit. You know what I mean? And then, like, this man, this is why I say he was overprotective and underprotective at the same time. This guy has his friend come into town. His friends say, yeah, my son is a whole weird ass who can't get a date to prom. And because you don't want MOESHA dating Q, you literally bribe her and say, I'll let you off punishment if you go on a date with this dude's son who's a weird ass. Like, that's what it was. Because, oh, well, he's my friend, so it's better than Q. And this dude, that dude, let's move on. Let's just move on. So another issue I have, now mind y'all, like I said, D came in that house wanting full control over that house. Now, should MOESHA have been in that room with Q? No. But Q went up there on his own. But still, you shouldn't have done it. It shouldn't have happened, right? But I will say this before I continue. If Frank wasn't being such a little bitch boy, then they probably would have felt more comfortable with Q coming over while they were there. You see where I'm going with this? Okay. So yeah. So no, they shouldn't have been in the room or whatever. But the fact that D used that as an excuse so that she could put MOESHA in the school that she wanted her to go in. Like, you could tell this is a school. Like, she literally, I think she said that she knew somebody at the school or like was friends with somebody that was at the school or something, but she had been wanting MOESHA to go to this school. And the moment when Frank was about to be like, maybe she should just stay at Crenshaw, then D was like, well, she got caught up in the room with Q. Fuck you, D. You a piece of shit for that. Like, she get on my nerves. Like, you see what I'm talking about, though? Like, she literally used that situation, used his already hatred for this boy so that she can get what she wants. And another example of D wanting to get her way. Now, mind y'all, MOESHA made it very clear she did not care about normal societal things. Like, she was more so into the books. She liked poetry. She liked writing, blah, 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 blah. Right? So, this particular episode, D got a letter from herself or whatever about modeling. And it just so happens there's this modeling thing going on. And she wants MOESHA to do it. MOESHA was very clear that she did not want to do it. Okay, from the very beginning. She didn't care about it. It was not her thing. She didn't hide it. She wasn't pretending like she wanted to do it and then turned around and snaked D. No, she from the very start said, I don't want to do this. D cried and whined, and MOESHA was like, fine, because, not because of D, but because of Kim. Kim was like, please, Mo, wear my stuff. You're the only one that can pull it off, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, for my friend, anything. Like, my stepmom can kiss my ass, but I got you, girl. Okay? So she ends up doing it through the whining of D and the begging of Kim, right? Gets to, she makes it to the next stage or whatever. She don't want to do it. She goes to this poetry thing with this woman, and they were out all night, and she comes back in late night, early morning. I don't know how to describe that. And D is just so upset. How could you? The thing is soon. The thing is going to be in a couple hours. And MOESHA Lear's like, well, I'll just, stay up. I won't go to bed. Then I'll stay up. We can go. She was still going to do it. And then D was like, well, I wish you would have just told me that you didn't want to do it if you weren't going to take it serious. She did tell you that she didn't want to do it. You whined about it. And then got your way and then got mad that she still didn't care about the shit at the end of the day when it's all said and done. Because you had a dream of modeling when you were a kid. And then because you got with a man who already has kids, so you don't have your own kids, you want to try to force this relationship that's not even developed onto this girl that's still grieving her mom. Like, that episode with the Mother's Day episode, like, this is how you know it was this bad, because Frank went down to that cemetery to fully just cuss MOESHA out for getting these some socks and being late to that Mother's Day lunch, brunch, whatever. He was about to cuss her out. He saw how sad she was and crying, and then saw where her money actually went, which was the necklaces, the one that she wanted to keep on her mom's stone. And he was like, "Oh, I can't cuss her out now. She's just grieving." No, obviously, she's still freaking grieving. Like, like annoying, right? Then you know what pissed me off? There's this episode. Frank gave MOESHA some of the worst advice. Now, before I get into this advice, let me just point out, Frank wasn't just the worst father, he was also a terrible husband. Now, Dee wants to have a kid, and this man is talking mad shit with his friend, by the way. His friend says some straight up misogynistic stuff, and it was just not cool. And he just going along with it, laughing, haha, hee hee. And Dee has him go to a fertility clinic, and the person said, "Hey, you know, you might need to switch this up, switch that up, because you might actually be the problem." And the dude was like, "You need to get a second opinion." So he listened to the man instead of wanting to get healthier to try and have another baby. And he goes to another doctor who tells him what he wants to hear, which he wasn't the problem. And he probably wasn't the problem. You know, Dee probably was the problem. But you see, the problem here is Dee is willing to look into all of these avenues to try and see what's the best way to go about having a baby. And you're sitting up here being hella misogynistic with your friend instead. You know what I mean? And it's not surprising when you hear this freaking terrible ass advice that he gave to MOESHA. So I mentioned this in the Niecy video, the scary marriage episode. Now, when this was going on, MOESHA went and got advice from her dad, you know, about, you know, would you eat dinner if you already ate dinner, you know, before you got home? And he said, "Oh yeah, to save an argument, I deal with a little indigestion." You're insane. You know how crazy it is to be in a relationship where you like, well, this person fusses and cusses so much that if I don't eat the food they made, even though I just ate, if I don't be obese and greedy myself, if I don't make myself sick, then this is going to be a big ass problem and I just don't want to deal with it. No, that's not a relationship you should be in. You should be with someone who is understanding, who if you go home and they happen to make a dinner and you already ate, be able to be like, "Hey, I already ate, so I'm gonna put this up, but I appreciate this and I apologize. I wish I had known," type shit. It should be a conversation. And you know what the response should be? "Oh man, next time I will just check with you and let you know that I'm making something. Sorry about that. Yeah, just eat it tomorrow. I'm sure it'll still be just as good." Like, that should be the conversation. I don't understand why would you tell her some dumbass shit like that? Terrible. Now, this video has already been way too fucking long. So I'm definitely going to make a part 2 because there's so much more that I want to say. Like, there is so much more that I want to say. But this video is too long. That if you made it this far, first and foremost, thank you for watching this far. But secondly, why don't you tell me what is a moment that you think about when it comes to Dee and MOESHA's relationship where you was like, "Dee, you was wrong for that." Okay? Tell me that. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Part 2 is not going to be coming out tomorrow, but it will be coming out soon. And I'll try to remember everything that I want to say in that one, and hopefully it's not as long as this one. But until next time, bye.